Some of you may have seen this guy around. This absolute beauty. This is my Sculptor. He's currently a 96 overall, and I have had a ton of people come in and ask, what's my favorite archetype, and how did I build them, and what have I put things into, like shot shaping, or do I do fittings? How do I do the fittings? What have I done with the character? So today is going to mark the first build guide that I'm going to do in this game, and I'm going to start with what I would say is probably my favorite archetype currently. This is more of an end game build, but I'll be going over some things that you can do if Sculptor is the first one that you select. I have been suggesting to everybody to start with a technician, mainly because the pick shot is so important. So the next build that I'll be doing is the technician. I have to get them leveled up. For that, I need VC. And I will be doing a technician build guide next. For the shaper, though, that's him. He's a 96 overall. So let's go over how I have allocated the attributes. The reason why I'm doing this now and not before he's a 99 is because all I really have left is stuff that isn't as important to him. But I do want to break this down just overall for everybody to why I'm doing what I'm doing. The first thing is 67 power, 89 contact. Now, the reason why it is like this is because you start with 67 power. So I have just maxed out the contact. The reason why the 67 power isn't really an issue is because with fittings, you can really get your driver up to a really good amount. Like right now it's at a 292 for me. That's only going to go up as the fittings update in each new season. So 67 power is actually very good, especially once you get power fittings onto your driver and onto your 3-wood if needed. So having a little bit lower power, same with the technician when I go over it, isn't really a big deal. The next thing that I did with my attributes is swing path and correction. This starts at a 70. And this goes all the way up to 73 if you put max points in. Now, I'm going to be showing some pictures of like what correction does, the difference between 70 correction and 99 correction. For me personally, that does not seem much of an issue. I can adjust for the correction because the correction is only there to adjust the bias of your shot. Something that is much more important, especially because this is one of the lowest stats that the character starts with, is putting as much as you can into swing path. Because, 73 is quite low. The next thing is this, 99 shot shaping. So, okay, to dive into this and why I am keeping it this way. I have gone through getting 60 recovery and 99 recovery on a magician to see what the big differences are. The big differences are between 60 and 99, the scale of the lie. So let's say on 60, it's 60 to 80%. On 99 recovery, it'll be like 64 or 66 to 82. So the way that the recovery works is you get potentially a better lie in recovery shots, so like rough, sand, things like that. You will get a better lie in the system, and also the distances between the two will shrink. Another thing that also helps with recovery, if you play on simulated lie, so what I mean by that is there's a difficulty setting that's simulated where it doesn't give you the percentages. You only can see the picture. The higher the recovery rating is, the more accurate that will be shown. So the reason that people are seeing sometimes that the ball looks buried and they hit it and it kind of comes out clean is because of your recovery stat. It's because those ranges are so much bigger. Now, as somebody who has played a high-level magician and somebody who has played a high-level sculptor, personally for me, shot shaping is 10 times as important as recovery is. And I will go over why I think that is as well when I show you off the build out on the training and how it looks. But for now, I thought about decreasing shaping, but the 99 shaping is actually phenomenal for actually shaping your shots and not having as much of a penalty for it. The next thing I did with my Sculptor is I maxed out rhythm. I put all of my points into rhythm because rhythm, while it might not be important for the longer game and the approach game is even a little bit less important, rhythm is extremely important for the short game. When you're doing picks, when you're doing splashes, when you're doing flop shots, I have noticed because of how much shorter animations are and how much faster everything moves in the short game, not having the rhythm in place, you can have some shots where it's like plus 3% power, plus 4% power. And that's something that is not what you want, especially in the short game. So for me, I maxed out rhythm because of that, because I want to have a little bit better short game with this golfer. When it comes to transition, transition is the overall power and how close you can get that power. So when you set your marker, that sets the distance that you want to hit the ball. And that'll be like anywhere from 100% to like 80% or 75%. Now, these partial shots used to be a lot harder in 2K23. What I've noticed in 2K25 is hitting partial shots, if you have the distance set, even at a low transition, you can hit those partial shots a lot easier this year. There may be times where you might underswing by 1% or overswing by 1%. If you really mess up, I mean, I've seen 3, 4, 5% differences. But for the most part, I think personally the partial shots are really not that difficult. And because of that, that's why I haven't put any points into transition. I have gone straight rhythm only for the short game mostly. The next thing I'm going to do, again, putt weight is your transition, but with a putter. And again, for me, I personally do not have an issue hitting my putting distance that I want to do. Whatever I have set the marker to, I have been very consistent in hitting that. Because of that, all the remaining points that I have are going to be fully put into putt contact. If you are struggling with getting the transition down with the weight of the putter, you can definitely put some points in. Same with transition. If you are struggling with partial shots, putting some points into transition isn't going to hurt you. It's just going to make you overall be able to hit those shots easier. It's just for me personally, both of these things don't really affect me. And because of that, I want to max out the other side of the equation. The next thing I did was I maxed out putt rhythm. Now, some people, oh, there you go, you can see it, 67. Some people may not struggle with this, but putt rhythm is something that I highly struggle with. I am getting plus 1.8, plus 2, plus 3% power putts. So this is definitely more of a Band-Aid than anything, because I still haven't figured out the putt rhythm. I've tried different ways of doing it, different ways of like moving my stick. Sometimes I get perfect rhythm and I have no idea how to recreate it. I am still working through that. So for now, I have done putt rhythm all the way and no points into putt path. And I also make up for this in the fittings, which I'll go over here in a little bit. Now, when it comes to skills, what you're going to be looking at is going to be pretty much an end game build for me. This is with all of the archetypes unlocked and what I'm going to be focusing on the most. So I will run through that for those who have archetypes unlocked and are looking to build a Sculptor. For those who don't, though, maybe Sculptor is going to be the first one that you go with. Again, I suggest you start with Technician if you're looking to, get into this competitively, just because the pick shot is very good, probably the best shot type in the game. And also the Technician could possibly be the best meta build for this game. Although I do think there's going to be multiple meta builds, a Sculptor being one of them. The Technician's also just really good to start with. But let's start with all the shot types. So for T-skills, I have taken all of these because it is driver. Like, you're going to be doing this every single time. So because of that, I want to max that out. I am also starting to explore choke tee shot. I have heard a lot of people say that I need to go back to this and take a look at it and see if it's something that I would like to add as a shot type that is a must-have. So I am in the middle of testing choke tee shot currently. The reason why people like choke tee shot is because you can kind of control it a little bit better, and you can also get it under the wind a little bit better. So if that is something that you're struggling with on both sides, like control, wind, choke tee shot might actually be a good choice. Same with choked approach, which we'll go over. Now for me, I just took 2 into Stinger. More than likely, I'm going to end up fully unlocking the Stinger. I like the Stinger. I like the Stinger into headwinds. I think it is a very underrated skill. It does really well getting under the wind, even in some situations like teeing off, like into par 3s, the Stinger can come in handy. So I do personally like that. I have also taken Power Drive because I have unlocked the archetype for Powerhouse. I've unlocked the shot type for this. I like Power Drive, and I can be quite accurate with Power Drive. Power Drive is definitely something that can give you just a little additional yardage so that you can hit that par 5. I know some people do not like it, mainly because it is quite difficult to hit. But with Power Drive, and if you use a consumable golf ball, you are never going to be wanting for power. Even with a character like mine, who is a 67 overall for power. Next up, we have the approach shots. So first I want to start with the pitch. So the pitch shot is one of the shot types that you're going to be using always. And because of that, I have maxed it completely out. I have just went through runner. I have never used the runner. I've used it to test it. Past that, though, I have never seen a time where a runner was the best shot type that I could use in a moment. So for me, I just blast off through the runner and I go for spinner. Now, I am going to keep it this way, mainly because rhythm, again, for the spinner shot, I can usually get pretty good rhythm because that is more one-to-one for all of your approach shots and tee shots, so the rhythm isn't as important to me. So because of that, just to save the 4 points, I didn't get the rhythm spot for the spinner. The spinner, I would say, is one of the shot types that you should rush for. This is a shot type that unlocks at 80 overall. If you are at an 80 overall, this should be one that you should set yourself up for to get once you hit 80 overall. I think the spinner shot is phenomenal. It is very good to get a 2-bounce checkup on all of your shots essentially within 60 yards. I think it is one of the most important skills in the game, and because of that, I think you should absolutely rush for it, no matter what build you are doing. The other thing that I am going to be testing more of is the choked approach. For me, like I said earlier, partials, not an issue for me at all, whatsoever. I can hit pretty much any partial, 75 to 100%. I can almost get a perfect on it every time. So I'm not too worried about distance, but it comes into how the choked approach shot works in comparison to the approach shot and if it is warranted. Again, some people are saying choked approach and choked tee shot are very good and very important for some approach shots and some par 3s that you do. So that is something that I will be testing. For now, I just do, again, approach shots, maxing out the perfect zones for contact, swing path, and to save me, again, it's only 2 points, but to save me those points, I do not take rhythm, although I will end up taking it when I test out choked approach. As far as like this skill tree, right now, this is what I am. This is like my end game approach skill tree until I test choked approach shots. Knockdown is fine, and some people do swear by it. I think, though, for the cost of 24 and also the cost of 16, 16, 8, 8, like to upgrade it, I personally do not see the reason to get the knockdown. That's for me personally. I think the 2 most important 85 shot types to get is the pick with the technician and the green reader with greenskeeper. Past that, it does become very subjective. For me personally, I like the power drive, but the 2 that I think are most warranted are tech and greenskeeper. All right, next up we have recovery. And what you see for recovery is what I am going to keep. I will never put another single point into this. The main reason is punch shot. Why should I put all of the additional points into punch shot when I use the punch shot once every 10 rounds, when I get myself into really deep trouble? Same with choked punch. Choked punches, I think, is even more worthless than putting points into the punch shot, mainly because, like, if I'm using a punch shot once every 10 rounds, how many times am I going to be using a choked punch shot every 100 rounds? The 2 most important ones here are flop, of course, and the super flop, which is probably, again, one of the most OP shot types in the game right now, is the super flop. And both of these are important. And I do take rhythm on both of these because the rhythm is so important in the short game. So for both of these, I max them out. Recovery shot, this is what you unlock for Magician. And again, I do not think that this shot is at all worth. What it does is it increases your misses. So not increases your misses, it decreases your misses by increasing the zone that you can hit in order to get perfect or to miss it slightly. And you can only do this with short irons and wedges. I was using recovery for a little bit to test it, and I did not notice any better scrambling that I was doing with the recovery shot when compared to just having this golfer at a 60 recovery. I didn't notice any additional scrambling that I was doing. I was still able to hit all of the shots that I needed to do to get up and down for par. And because of that, again, 24, 16, 8, 16, like having all of these points put into a shot type that just didn't seem worthy to me, just seems like a waste. So that is why I'm skipping it. Next up, we have bunker. So we have our splash shot, which again, I max out because you're going to be using splash shot a lot. Power pick is one of those shot types that I just don't think is important because you can do exactly what a power pick does with any of the other shot types that are available to you. I do just go through and grab blast. I do use blast, especially hitting into highly uphill like shots going into a hole. Blast shot I think is very important for that. And right now I haven't maxed it out, mainly because it is still a shot type that I don't use all the time. So I don't want to waste the additional 16 points. But when I do use it, it does come in handy. It's just not that often, which is why I'm leaving it like this. And then finally, we have the pick shot. Now, the pick shot, this is something I am also probably going to be testing. I have been good with the pick shot, not having it leveled up that much. So eventually, I do think I am going to respec to where I just take the pick shot and save the 8 points for transition. Because I was going to come down and grab both of these and maybe rhythm, but I don't know if it's really worthy of it. Again, this is something I'm going to be testing, but I have just been using this and this boost for probably, I don't know, a week now, and I have never ran into issues with my pick shot being a bad shot. So I may end up, just to save the 8 points for the end game builds when I have full 500 SP, that might be something that I look at. For now, though, this is what I have. If you struggle with the pick, definitely grab these, but I don't know if it's worth it. And then finally, we have green. So green is the one that I have the most points in, and that's because putting in this game is extremely important. So I have maxed out the chip because you're going to be using the chip a ton. I have maxed out the putt because you are going to be using the putt a ton. I do not grab lag putt because I think it is a redundant skill. I do come over and grab bump and run because the big one that I want to get to is green reader. So some new information has come out about green reader. What I have learned from Devin's stream is green reader, the way the grids work this year, they are 25% bigger than they were in 2K23. So if you want to get the green grids down to about 2K23 grids, you have to take green reader and then take 2 of these boosts down at the bottom. This will essentially get them down to about 5% bigger than 2K23. Every time that you take these, it is going to be more and more, and eventually you can get the green reader down to 15%, I believe, 15% smaller than 2K23, if that is something you are looking for. Some people say that this has actually messed them up more than it has helped them. If you are coming from 2K23 and you want similar green grids, taking this and then getting 2 of the boosts will get you to similar green grids. That way you can have a smooth transition. But as far as the green shot types look, you are looking at, again, my end game for shot type. But let's say you are coming in and you are doing Sculptor for your first build and you're only going to do one build. The things that I would change is I would max out choke tee shot if that's something that you're looking for. I would also max out stinger because both of these things can come in handy. Limited testing, I don't know if I still see the choke tee shot as something as important, but a lot of people do. So it might be something you want to test out. You won't have power drive because, again, you have to unlock that through powerhouse. On the approach side, you still want to probably max out pitch, grab runner, and then get your full spinner. Now, this archetype unlocks the knockdown, and that is something because you are going to have skill points available. You might as well get it, and you might as well max it out because you are going to have the skill points for it. The knockdown isn't worthless. It does come in handy. It's just I have been able to create all of the shots that the knockdown do. I can get similar outcomes for it. So it's not something that I have really been focusing on. But you are going to have the points because you're not going to be putting into power drive. You're not going to be putting into pick. You're not going to be putting into, green reader. So you're going to have to use those points. And for that, I suggest you grab the knockdown shot. You grab the choked approach as well. And you also get off the deck and get as much boost as you can. The off the deck is very important, and it is something that I'm probably going to be coming down and grabbing eventually when I have the skill points to do so, because if your 3-wood goes 250, the off the deck can go like 270. It's a bunch of additional yardage. It's hard to hit, but it is still a bunch of additional yardage. For recovery, I think that your skill tree should look like this. Do not put a ton of points into recovery. Mainly because, again, punch shot and choked punch shot is just not, in my eyes, that important. You won't have recovery, so just max these out and be done with it. On this side, I would probably max out splash, max out blast if you do have the points for it. Completely skip power pick. It is just not something that is important. Green reader, you're going to be, more than likely, if you have the points, you're still going to be maxing out putt. You're still going to be maxing out chip. I still wouldn't do anything with the bump and run. And if you really have points left over and you need to blow it on something, you can do Texas wedge if you would like. The Sculptor is more than likely for a lot of people going to be one of those players that is something that you build in the end game. I don't think it is the best starter archetype, but it is definitely, I think personally, one of the best archetypes for later down the road once more shot types are available to you. Now for fittings, on my driver, I go all power. Every single bit power. I can get it up to an 87 power, which again is all I really need. 292 is a great distance for your driver, especially for somebody who's only at a 67 power. The swing path does get me into trouble sometimes, but for the most part, I can hit almost all of my fairways that I am searching for. Now for woods, that does change a little bit. And the reason behind that is because I still want to be accurate with my woods. So I did take the power. It gets up to a 75 power, which gives 255 yards, which is still very good. And I put 2 power into that to get it up to 255. 255 was kind of the sweet spot in the testing that I did for the courses that I played. And then past that, I go all into swing path. Because again, swing path is one of the attributes that are the weakest for this archetype. So putting swing path fittings into it to get it up into the 80s is very good. When it comes to irons, so for irons, I have gone all swing path. I could have added a little bit of power to these, but again, this comes down to partials. So 255 to 231 between 3-wood and 2-iron is a big gap. The thing is, I can do partials very well. And because of that, I am all swing path on my irons because I want my approach shots to be the most accurate that they can be. Power can be adjusted for with partials for me. Accuracy is king on your approach. And on my wedges, I did something a little bit different. I did 3 swing path and 2 rhythm. So I did the 3 swing path because mid 80s for me on my wedges are actually completely fine. The only time my accuracy really becomes a problem is when I'm doing a spinner shot. So I could put more into the swing path. But rhythm for me is something that I found is kind of an issue, especially in the short game with pick shots, splash shots, flop shots, super flop, all of the short game essentially. Rhythm is kind of important. There are times that I blast a shot. Like it is 4% extra, 2% extra, and 2% extra on a chip shot is the difference between a 4-foot putt and a 12-foot or a 15-foot putt sometimes. So for me, I put actually 2 into rhythm and 3 into swing path just to get me into the 80s for my wedges. And on the putter, like I said earlier, I put it all into rhythm. Rhythm is the main reason why I miss putts. And because of that, I am band-aiding it with full rhythm. I have got it up to 83 rhythm. 50 on cut contact and putt path, I have found is pretty good for me. Mainly because with putting, it goes back to swinging it straight up and down, which is something that I have been doing for years at this point with all prior games of this series. So for me, the 50 contact and path is fine. If I do miss those by a little bit, it's usually not at great of a cost. What's the main cause of me missing putts? It's putt rhythm. Maxing out putt rhythm is what I've been doing. This is also the bag that I'm using. I am using driver, 3-wood, 2-iron through pitching wedge. So 2-iron and 3-iron. Through pitching wedge, and I only have 2 wedges in the bag, 52 and a 60. These sometimes get me into problems, but again, it comes down to partial shots, which I'm good with. I would rather have a partial shot in between a 52 and a 60 degree than having a partial shot in between a 2-iron and a 3-iron, or a 2-iron and a 4-iron. So because of that, I took out one of my wedges and I put in a 3-iron into my bag. And so far, I have liked this setup quite nicely. I've liked this more than having an additional wedge in my bag so far. So what's the reason behind me liking the shot shaping overall? Here is the shot shaper out on the course. The first thing I like about the Sculptor is you can stay on your bias side for quite a while. Now, you can do this on every golfer. I think there is a threshold for what you need to be for shot shaping in order to get it over to a fade side while keeping the bias that you're used to. So for me, it's a draw bias. The big difference, though, is the amount of shaping that you can do. Now, the penalties, so I have found that, as I go max fade or max draw, you can see my zones shrinking. They actually do shrink about the same. So no matter what you're playing, you are going to have, there might be slight gains for this, doing something like this. I haven't seen it. They do shrink at about the same rate across all of the golfers that I have in the 90s. And there's a wide range of shaping that they have. But the big thing that you can do is, this is max fade on my driver for my Sculptor. And this is my max fade on this Magician, who is at a 70 overall for shot shaping. It's double, 2.5 times the amount of shot shaping that I can do between 70 and 99. And some people may find a happy medium. But another thing that I really like about the Sculptor in general, especially compared to the Magician, is that for the Magician, yes, you have the additional recovery. But if you get yourself into a really tough spot on a Magician, you're pretty much just coming down to luck on whether or not you can get yourself out of a really sticky situation. The thing about the Sculptor is you have so many more options to get yourself out of positions where you're behind a couple of trees and you have to make a perfect shot through them. On the Magician, since sculpting isn't as much, in a situation like this, we would just have to lay up. On Sculptor, I can get around all of this if I really would like to. And I can put myself back into a position where I might be able to get birdie or save a par a little bit better than if I had to just lay this ball up somewhere else to get out of a sticky situation. It is something that I have used more to get myself out of places that I shouldn't be. And the detriment of not having the recovery hasn't been an issue for me at shooting low scores on the course. Apart from draw and fade, though, something that the Sculptor does very well is the ability to add massive amounts of loft and de-loft. This not only helps you at getting a correct distance that you would like, but it also helps you in instances where you need to get it up a high elevation with a 4-iron. I have to do a 4-iron or a 3-iron, and I have to get it up 40 feet. Having the ability to add a massive amount of loft to your shot helps tremendously. Another part where it helps you tremendously is if you're dealing with maybe a bunker where you need to get over a lip. So if you have a situation where you're in a bunker, maybe like this, you know, a 2-iron, we're a little bit too close. We're not going to be able to get it out with a 2-iron. 3-iron, though. See how that line has now moved to blue? That means we can actually clear this lip now. Now, it is a high-risk shot because you are maxing out the height of the ball. So doing it, pulling down on the left stick, and then going up to the right on the right stick is a way that you can maximize height on the ball. It is a tough shot, but it allows you the ability to maybe even get over a lip of a bunker that you probably wouldn't have been able to get unless you had that additional loft that you would get from shot shaping. On somebody with a little bit lower of shot shaping, you may have to club up an additional time to get it over the lip of a bunker. So having the additional shot shaping also plays a factor in getting you into positions where you can add an extreme amount of loft onto a ball to maybe get yourself out of position that you might be in. But that is my shot shaper build. It is max shaping, and I love it. There may be a middle ground that I find, but more than likely this is going to be my endgame character. He has good power. You can get him up to really good swing path and contact with fittings on clubs. Correction isn't really important to me. Recovery, it can be important, but I don't see a need to put a lot of points into it currently with how it is comparatively across the different levels. You can get good rhythm, you can get good putt rhythm, you can overall get a pretty good putter with this build as well. And because of that, because of the shaping, this is a character that I'm probably going to be using for the majority of my time with the game. Now, this character is pretty much done. I do have 96 overall. There's not a lot left for me to do except to put into putt contact and get some of these shot types completely figured out. But I am going to move on to another build. I'm going to be doing a technician. I'm going to be leveling up my technician to about the same amount too, just so I have a better gauge on which one I like the most. Now, the good thing about my technician is that I already have the levels on him. He is level 82. I have 43 attribute points to spend. The only problem is I don't have the VC to do it. So I'm going to be working on that also. And this build might change up a little bit, but this will be the next build that I am going to be doing. And I'm going to be working on this build live on my streams, twitch.tv/respawntv, and also on the main channel of YouTube. So if you're interested in what my technician build is going to look like in the end, follow me there and continue on this journey with me on getting these builds around. When I'm done with the technician, I'll get a video out and show you guys what I'm doing with him and what I think are the best things moving forward if you started with the technician. More than likely, that's going to be here in the next week or so because I am going to be grinding this game. So if that interests you, think about subscribing to the channel. Also, like this video if this was informative or if it helped you with maybe a sculptor that you're going to want to do, or maybe you found like a middle ground that you want to do with maybe a sculptor. You can absolutely do this. My builds are going to be a little bit more to the extremes just because I can afford to do that with some instances, but you might find a little bit different of a middle ground for yourself. But if this was informative, if you enjoyed it, think about liking the video. Helps get it out into the algorithm, and I'd greatly appreciate it. For me, though, that's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you on the next one.